Hey guys, and welcome back to my review of 13 Stitches, the 6th episode of what is sadly the 5th and final season of Gotham. Now to get started and give a quick statement of opinion over here, I think it was one more stellar episode on Gotham's final season. Lee Thompkins is finally back for one thing, which is something I was waiting for. It only makes sense when things are changing, slowly but kinda steadily, between Barbara on one hand and Jim on the other hand, that Lee makes it back to the scene. That's kind of a TV series trope that we do expect seeing on Gotham, just like any other TV series, and it is as well not that uncommon when it comes to the comics. I mean, we do see it on some issues in the comics, not necessarily Batman, but in general. Now, I personally rate this episode with a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. It did provide build-up for Bane, the coming of Bane. It did provide advancement in the solo arcs of some characters, advance the overall story a little bit, and bring an old character back, that being Lee Thompkins. And even that bit of a filler arc on this episode, the one with Penguin and Selina, led to Selina deciding to leave Gotham to the mainland, and I believe this is going to have something to do with a future return, probably on the finale. But in the spirit of not wasting any more time doing general talk, and without further ado, let's get started with number 1, Born of Blood, the motto of the unit as Alfred refers to it early on in the events of the episode. Now that's a direct reference to the art print by British artist Wally, created in conjunction with Quantum Mechanics, who also provided it to the public, the comic book fans. Now the art itself is a reference to Batman being born as a product of his suffering, a result of the loss of his parents. So, as you can see here, it depicts the Bat of Gotham at the very bottom, rising from a pool of his parents' blood and his mother's scattered pearls. It's definitely interesting that they used this reference over here, considering, as of the end of the previous episode, we had the strong suspicion that Jeremiah is planning a return of the Wayne's prank. Kind of feels more confirmed than ever now. But number 2, once again, Barbara is coming on to Jim. Jim, on the other hand, and when it comes to Barbara, has still got his trust issues. So pretty much she's trying to be nice, he's being, well, just Jim Gordon. Just name your fee is what he tells her, to which she responds, "Can't I just want to help?" The Barbara redemption arc continues, possibly towards the end of Barbara Keene becoming the Barbara Keene from the comics, wife to Jim Gordon and mother to Batgirl's Barbara Gordon. I do have another theory though when it comes to how Gotham is gonna play it, which involves Barbara Keene dying before the end of the season, before the end of the No Man's Land arc. So my thoughts over here is that before the end of the No Man's Land arc, because we're gonna have a little bit beyond that, at the very end of the season, she's basically fully redeemed and also dead. I mean, she would die a heroic death in this case. Considering that we've now got the reveal that she's pregnant, she's probably gonna have that baby before the end of the season. Right now the series is basically 3 months into the No Man's Land arc, which means that she should have her baby by the 1-year mark, which also means that by the 391st day, she should be available to fight. Now, in the back of my mind, there are 2 good reasons why this would happen. Barbara would end up dead by the end of the season, and Jim and Lee would take the kid and raise it together. So there's one, pregnant or not, Jim is gonna find it too hard to trust Barbara. I mean, it's pretty clear with every single moment of this episode. Besides, he still loves Lee. But there's also 2, the only one that's missing from the very first scene of the season, when they're basically resisting that military invasion, pushing it away from their walls, is actually Barbara Keene. I mean, you can see Penguin, you can see Nygma, you can even see Zaz on the very right of Jim Gordon, but you cannot see Barbara. So unless Barbara is very pregnant at the time, which she shouldn't be considering this is the 3rd month and that's gonna be like 13 or 13 plus months into the No Man's Land arc, she just should be there, fighting side by side with everyone else. All in all though, Barbara is trying to redeem herself. She's jealous when it comes to Lee. She's still in love with Jim Gordon, still got those good old feelings, and she pretty much seals the deal on that one, trying to ruin the moment between Jim Gordon and Lee Thompkins by announcing her pregnancy. But moving on though to number 3, Eduardo, so far dressed in military uniform, supposedly being a protector of the people. Huge air quotes here, by the way. He's really quite the Easter egg for his work with Lex Luthor on the No Man's Land arc from the comics. Over there on the pages of the comic book arc, he actually works on protecting the innocent construction workers who work for Lex Luthor. It does as well go hand in hand with his fake bid as a ruler of Gotham, a broken Gotham that is, on the Dark Knight Rises, where he tried at first and after he got rid of Bruce Wayne to act like the nice guy. We come here not as conquerors but as liberators to return the city to the people. But number 4, Jim working side by side with Nygma and Barbara, just like Jim worked side by side with Penguin early on this season. That was beyond entertaining. But these kind of strange unions anyway kind of remind me of Poison Ivy in the comics, in the No Man's Land arc to be specific. I don't remember any other criminal or gang, other than Poison Ivy of course, letting go of their selfishness and their care for nothing and no one but themselves on the pages of said arc. It kind of feels like a good twist, like they are creating their own universe. I mean, it's the No Man's Land arc from the comics, but it isn't really, it's a reboot of its own. But number 5, the introduction of Magpie. The Batman rogue on this episode presents us with a character very close to her comic book counterpart. Margaret Pye over here does look a lot like her comic book counterpart, and just like in the comics, she's got no powers, but has the talent to create exact replicas of what she steals, only they're booby-trapped copies. So just like the one that she threw at Penguin at the very beginning of this episode. Number 6, I think we all thought it the moment that THERESA stated she had an idea that will bring Jim Gordon and Nygma to them. I mean, the answer over here was really simple: Lee Thompkins. Now, before we met THERESA Walker at the very end of the episode, getting the reveal that there's a second operative at play here, it already just felt too good to be true. I mean, they had Nygma and Lee at their disposal, but they only programmed one or planted a chip in the head of one, which wouldn't have made any kind of sense. The objective in the overall was to mess with Jim Gordon, sabotage any progress achieved by him. So it makes a lot more sense to use Lee Thompkins as well, because she's the one who could get closer to Jim Gordon and mess up his plans. But next up though is number 7, attempting to broadcast out of Gotham when it is next to impossible. That's right out of Zero Year. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm making these connections, it's because this season is based out of 2 arcs in the comics, No Man's Land and Zero Year, and that was both announced by the producers and by the cast of the series before the airing of the season. So pretty much on this arc we've got Batman trying to stop the Riddler by challenging him, and also trying to distract him while allowing Jim Gordon time to signal the incoming fighter jets not to attack and level Gotham. That was basically part of the story relayed on the final pages, final couple of issues of Savage City, the 3rd and final act of the Zero Year arc. But number 8, the bomb with Nygma, the Let's Play a Game, once again based on the Zero Year arc. Only in the comics the game is being played with the entirety of Gotham, rather than just with this one crew that messed with Nygma. Also, another variation over here is all about Nygma being the distraction or creating the distraction instead of being the distracted, making him one of the good guys instead of the bad guy. Number 9, the destruction of Haven was all about proving that Gotham is overrun by criminals. It's all work done to convince the higher-ups to allow Walker and Bane to get in a way level Gotham. That's actually what kind of happens at the end of the season, so we kind of understand the background at this moment. But one more time over here, and once again, that's just like the cases with Zero Year, the leveling of Gotham. Number 10, Bruce Wayne on comms, fighting his way through the roof of the GCPD, asking for his 1 second before he can get the job done. That's just very comic book-like, very Batman-like, except that on the other end of the comms it's usually not Lucius Fox, but rather Alfred Pennyworth. But number 11, Pena Dura, or Pena Dura, whatever they want to call it on the series, the prison where Bane got held in the comics, but rather with a twist over here, one very similar to the pit on The Dark Knight Rises. Walker found Eduardo and got him out of there, just like Ross on the movie found him and got him out after that version of Bane showed kindness and protection provided to Talia Al-Ghul, who was also born in that prison. But the bit with Eduardo in this episode though is where it kinda gets tricky when it comes to my opinion. I think that one of the worst things about us knowing that Eduardo is to become Bane is that we now saw it coming. We know this is not the end of the line for him, we know that he's not gonna die, and we know that he's gonna turn into Bane. So that entire moment with the victory of Jim Gordon over Eduardo felt very fake and from the get-go. But number 12 though, THERESA Walker makes it to Gotham. Very Talia Al-Ghul, I might say. I mean, she could be someone else, she could be Nissa Al-Ghul, she could be anyone really, who has a certain agenda, a certain and very high need of vengeance against Gotham. I believe though the actress is going to be great in this role. I mean, if you've ever watched Dexter or Spartacus or Defiance, you would probably understand why I think the world of this actress. But number 13 though, with her arrival, her plugging of that mask on Eduardo's face, she has started the countdown. She has signaled the birth of Bane. Number 14, Jeremiah is back advancing yet another arc, stabbing Alfred to whatever effect, and I suppose that it all plays into his upcoming family reunion prank when it comes to Bruce. But finally though, number 15, that's a quick comment because I thought the arc with Selina and Penguin working together, that was really some of the funniest stuff on this episode. But let us not forget as well that there were a lot of other comedic moments, some with Harvey, some with the Riddler, and some with Harvey and the Riddler were put together in one scene. That being said though, my work here is done. Let me remind you to do the 4 things that I always ask you to do. 1. Leave a comment letting me know what you think is going to happen on future episodes and what you think of this episode. 2. Like this video. 3. Subscribe to this channel. And 4. Enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. But until the next time you tune in for another one of my videos, Gotham or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to this review, and have a great day.